Welcome in, everyone. All right, well, it's 1 o'clock. We can get started now. Welcome to the Gather to Grow webinar series. This is part of the series that launched over the summer. So today we'll bring you another one. The Gather to Grow webinar series. The goal of our series is to share knowledge and training and workshops, create opportunities for others to learn and uplift each other, and support Indigenous farmers by engaging in the full process of seed and food sovereignty. These gatherings are meant to connect with local BIPOC communities, highlight best practices, and create spaces of healing by healed people for community growth and resilience. My name is Trina Bizzardi. I'm the Senior Program Officer here at Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance, and today we bring you barriers and capacity building for Native chefs. Today, our presenter, Jeff Rocchi, holds a BS in Culinary Arts and boasts over 2 decades of experience. He also serves as a consultant, chef, and executive across Philadelphia. He's also a Serve Safe instructor. He also is the Culinary Education Director at Franklin Town Charter High School and serves on our executive council here at Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance and also chairs the Food and Culinary Committee here at Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance. Joe is passionately involved in research, education, and promotion of Indigenous food sovereignty, the dietary effects of colonization, and pre- and post-colonial Indigenous foods. As a member of the traditional Eastern Woodlands Foodways Alliance, he develops healthy and culturally relevant Indigenous school nutrition programs. Today, I would like to welcome you, Joe, and without further ado, thank you for joining us. I'll pass it over to you.
Trina, thank you. And everybody, thank you for being here today. My name is Chef Joe Rocchi. I'm from the Pamunkey tribe, whose reservation is based in Virginia, although I'm Philadelphia born and bred. So I was going to tell you a few things about myself, but Trina kind of did it, told you everything about me. Sometimes I forget I do those things, and I'm kind of tired now, just to hear about them all. So first, I'd just like to explain kind of like where the idea for this particular webinar came from. So a couple months ago, a museum in Reading, Pennsylvania, contacted the Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance and said, hey, listen, we are going to have a new Native American exhibit debut in February. We'd love to hire a Native American chef to produce a dinner in our museum to kick that off. But they didn't know how to do that. So they contacted Native American Food Sovereignty Alliance to ask that question, which then the question got kicked to me. And I said, well, first, honestly, I'm familiar with the Reading area. There are no Native American chefs there. So that's a small problem right there. But I think I might be able to help. And then I asked a couple questions to follow that up just so I knew who to reach out to. And the questions I asked really had zero to do with food. They were more questions that a chef would ask to gather the information for what type of event that it would be, if you had the capacity to do the event. And after a few minutes of conversation, it became apparent that I was like, wow, no one ever thought that these things would go into just a simple like, hey, can we get a Native American chef to do this event? And I was like, well, there's a lot of Native American cooks, but especially on the East Coast, there's very few Native American chefs that have the experience and the capacity to do these things, especially in a way that's going to be profitable to them and to their community as well. And that's really the idea for this webinar first came from, that it'd be great to just kind of shine a light on a lot of the things that are really involved, because if you're looking at doing a native food event, quite honestly, most of the time the food is almost second nature to you, whether you're a professional chef or a powwow chef or just a great cook. You can probably do the food aspect the way you do it with your eyes closed. But when you're doing these larger events, it becomes a little bit more, one, it is a job. You do want it to be profitable to you. And at the same time, you want to put the Native American community and culture in the best light that you can, and you don't want to waste your time. You definitely don't want to walk away from this owing money when you thought you were going to make some money. And for some people, this is a a straight up business. This is what they're doing to feed their children, not just a one-off thing that 20 years from now they can look back and say, hey, I did that. It was a great experience. And even if that is your main goal, you still want to be able to look back and say, hey, that was a great experience for me, for the client, for the guest, for the community, for everyone. Last thing you do is go through it and be like, I really wish I never did that. And you don't want the client feeling that way. And you definitely don't want the uh, community, and for it's weird to say it, but the non-native community to walk away with that feeling of this was a horrible event, because this is our chance to show them the beauty of our culture through our food, and everything that our food touches. I mean, we're all human beings. The only thing we all have to do at the end of the day is we all have to eat. It's the only thing that all of us across the planet do is we eat. And to me, I'm sure a lot of other people, but to all the food nerds like me, that is that one time that we go crazy throughout the day, and then we're sitting there enjoying a meal with the people that we want to be with. We're sharing our resources with them, whether that's seared foie gras on brioche toast points or a fried bologna with cheese sandwich. That's our time to be with the people that we love and that we want to talk to and to unwind and to share that time. We don't want people walking away saying that's Native American culture, that's Native American food, and it not being what it truly could be. So with that, I guess I'm going to get started. Um, there is some information that will be emailed out to you all at the end. Just some things in case we don't quite touch on everything. Please feel free to put questions in the chat throughout. I really don't mind discussing things, making small little side quests, but we will have time at the end for more discussion. And I do have to say this, I do teach for my full time, so at some point in time, I'm sure the loudspeaker is going to go off for a split second. And I am in an actual working kitchen, so the refrigerators might pop on and off. So you might have some background noise for that. I apologize. Nothing I can do about it. All right, let's go to the next slide. Or at least I'm going to try to go to the next slide. All right. So, starting a catering business, steps, part one. Uh, this is not how it's done in the Hallmark Station Christmas shows that, somebody cooks whatever really good and all of a sudden they open up a catering facility and they save Christmas. I mean, that's a great story, but that's just really not how it goes. I mean, over here on the left, had this little made up catering business called Kids Catering. And just by looking down it, I mean, right from the very beginning, um, mission. What is the mission of this little business you're trying to put forward? You have to have a clear cut understanding of what it is that you do, or that you want to do. Now, that's where I see a lot of native chefs kind of get a little bit, I don't want to say screwed up, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but a little cross between the two, because they'll have someone come to them and say, hey, like, can you do this event for us? And they may have, I'm just going to make this up, a wonderful fry bread station that they do at their local powwow. And they're experts at it. They've been doing it. The whole family's been doing it for 25, 26 years. They're really awesome. But then all of a sudden it's, hey, can you come and do this luncheon in the parking lot of our business or of our school? Now that's not really what they do. Sometimes it's important to say, hey, listen, like this is in my little bag of tricks. This is not. What am I not willing to do? And what am I willing to dip my toes into just to see what it feels like? Um, moving down the line there, you cannot be a one person or organization. I mean, no matter how good you are at doing the food, you just can't do everything by yourself. That's a one-way ticket to disaster. Earlier, before we went live, myself and the staff were just talking about how when it comes to the technical aspect of putting this together, I'm horrible. I routinely ask my high school kids to come and help me. Like, hey, dad, need some help putting this PowerPoint together because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an expert at food, but if I'm going into a business meeting, I'm actually going to have my 16-year-old kind of look over my PowerPoint first. So you really do need to have this little management team, all your little keys to success. Sometimes your keys are actually people. and figure out how they're going to help you do what you need to do. Um, Moving down the line here, just a tiny bit. We're not going to go through each of these. I just kind of want to touch on a few specific ones. Your financial summary. Now, that's a pretty weird word. I think some of us don't even really know what that is. But your financial summary to me is you need to know where your finances are at. I mean, what can you logistically do? How much money do you have? Where are your assets at? A lot of times, and again, I see people come to native cooks and they're like, hey, we really want to give you this opportunity to come do this. And they want to do it. But even something like the food cost, it might cost them $2,000 out of pocket just to buy the food items. Do you logistically have that or realistically have that in the bank that you can part with for maybe a week, maybe 2 or 3 months, that's not tied up in paying your rent, your mortgage, your kids' tuition for school? Um, Know what kind of products and services that you work with really well. Again, I'm going to use the example of a powwow cook that might do like a fry bread station. So they're probably going to, in my head, have a lot of disposable type things. That's a whole different ball game from when if you're going into a museum setting, setting up a tasting station, setting up a served 5-course dinner or a buffet presentation. These are all completely different products, a completely different service. And you really have to have some experience in doing that because it's a completely different thing. Um, we're going to go to our next slide because I think some of this we'll talk about later. All right, we'll attempt to go next slide. There we go. So this is part two of that. This is a real business. Um, Look at the area you're in. Do you have competitors? Just to segue out a little bit from instead of somebody coming to you saying, hey, can you do this one off? I know there's a lot of great cooks out there that people say, you know what, you should open up your own business. Hey, you know what? No one sells fry bread here. No one sells really good corn grits here. No one sells one, two, three, or XYZ, whatever it's going to be. And people hear that all the time, like, you know what, I'm going to go do that. But there's a opening in your local mall that they have some great restaurants there. And yeah, no one sells fry bread. But can you compete with the people that are there? What's your price points going to be? If you look at some examples I have over here, we have a catering hall, we have two different Italian restaurants, we have a brewery, we have another bar type situation. Uh, where is your particular brand that you're trying to sell going to fit in there? Can it even survive? Um, One of the biggest mistakes I see in that scenario is people go, all right, well, to compete with these people, we got to do what they're doing and we got to do it better than they're doing. To give an example, one time I took over a really beautiful Italian restaurant and they had an Italian pizzeria restaurant across the street and an Italian bar restaurant down the street. Their biggest worry when I took over was, well, these other places sell clams casino. Should we sell them too? My point was, you know, you should definitely not sell them because then you're just a third restaurant selling the same thing. You have this beautiful building. Let's make it more a little bit more high end and sell something here you can't get there. The last thing I was going to want to do is compete with them, especially if they're already established businesses. Trying to take business away from them, doing something that they do is probably not going to be a wise decision. If they're all high end, you may want to go low end. Let everybody that wants to go and spend $80 per plate go to those places when it's a random Tuesday night, or for the people that just really can't afford $80 a plate for their family of six, let them come to the restaurant where it's $13 a plate. And you can make your money not only in your food, but upselling some desserts, some drinks, maybe sell some t-shirts, whatever it's going to be. Just make sure your business plan is competitive, that you can actually operate in this area and survive. And speaking of operations, going back again to you can't do it by yourself. You actually need a team of people. Do you have that? A lot of family businesses, it's the mom and dad, and then it's the kids, and then the cousins and the brothers. Are they really full-time employees? Are they dedicated to the business? Sometimes it's better not to hire family. I know I can tell you for sure, I hate working with family. It's always a huge stress of mine. I'd rather have employees that we have a owner, employee, manager, employee relationship, not somebody I have to go home and deal with or see at Christmas. Because in business, business is business. Sometimes things don't work out nice and then you have to still see people, or you don't want an argument from home, traveling into work with you and back and forth. And sometimes you want to be able to say, I'm going to hire managers that do what they do because they're professional and they're perfect at it. I'll be the first person to say when it comes to food, I'm an expert at that. There's a lot of other ends of the business I'm not really an expert at. I'm pretty good. And there are certain things like say with like I would hire a social media influencer in a split second because I have no idea what I'm doing with that. You'll have restaurants in my part of the world here where Roy Rogers just opened up again after 30 years not being in this area. For 4.5 weeks, they had police presence outside with a two-car line backed up for 2 blocks for Roy Rogers. Listen, I love Roy Rogers, but it's not that good. It's just good. But social media had it hyped up so much. They're charging $25 for like 4 pieces of chicken, fries, and a drink. Um, and they had, like I said, round the block lines for 4.5 weeks before I could even think about going there because I like Roy's, but there was no way I'm sitting in a 2 hour line to get there. And we're going to go to our next slide. All right. So this is the biggest part where I see a lot of native cooks really get screwed up. And I want to preface that by saying not only native cooks, but I do see it happen more to native cooks than any other type, and that there are rules to this game. So just to take for the Philadelphia area, as an example, everything listed here, if you want to sell food in the city of Philadelphia, even sell a hot dog cart or something, you have to have all of these things. If there's any of them that you don't have, you are facing a pretty substantial fine. You can try to skirt around that if you want, but you're going to be fined at some point in time. And whatever you made working for that day or that event is really not going to help you when you're hit with multiple $5,000 fines. And you're kind of making enemies in your area, whether it be other food vendors or just the municipality in itself, that when you do try to get all your stuff together, they're a lot less likely to help you out. If they've had to send people out and inspectors and fine you for not having any of these things. And these things take a while to go through. Just personally, very recently, there's a native nonprofit that's based right outside the Philadelphia area. They're doing a really cool event and they had no food lined up for it. And they contacted me and said, Joe, can you come do this with us? Just so we have one, some type of food for people to buy, but also we would love it to be native based food. And honestly, I really had no interest to doing it as a professional thing, but I really wanted to help them out. And I was like, all right, listen, this is what I'm willing to do. I'll come and sell some waters, sodas, some bags of, popcorn or something. That's kind of native. Um, I was going to make the popcorn. And I'll do like a version of a Three Sisters stew, just so people can walk away just saying, oh, like, I've had some native food and it's very approachable. It's not weird, stuff like I thought it was. And I'll sell it for like $3 a carry-out bowl. Just enough that I make back the money that I put out for these things. I really wasn't trying to do it to make a profit. Um, After about 4 hours through multiple days of going back and forth on websites and leaving voicemails for people for the township they were in, I finally get into their system because I need this temporary license. Not even counting the hours that I lost doing that and the aggravation factor. I don't even remember what the cost was to get the temporary license, but the key factor was they wanted me to carry a $500,000 worth of insurance to sell pre-made soup that I was making in my licensed facility where I work for 3 hours. There was no possible way that one, it would have been a super rush thing, me trying to get it done in like a day or two, but I wasn't paying for that. I wasn't going through the aggravation. And I wound up having to tell the nonprofit, listen, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. I'm not going through all of that just to sell Three Sisters stew and not even make a profit because I wasn't even trying to make a profit. It was something I thought I'd walk away with $15,000 to $20,000 for the day, maybe. But to carry $500,000 worth of insurance just to go help somebody out. And also got to remember, God forbid something did happen. It's great to have the insurance, but that's my reputation and my name on the line. Because a lot of times you don't think about things like that. Say, sell somebody soup and they don't eat it and they take it back and they put it in their car and it sits there for 3 or 4 days and then they take it out and they're sitting on their step going to eat it and their next door neighbor says, hey, it looks good, can I have some? Their next door neighbor gets sick from the soup that's been sitting in the car for 5 days, and when they go to the hospital they say, what did you eat? They're going to tell them and it's going to point back to me. Now once I sold that, I can't control what happens to it, but it's still my reputation at the end of the day. With insurance, hopefully if I did get sued, that would, take care of it. But it wasn't a risk that I was willing to take. But like I said, right here, you have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different official things that I would have to register for and pay for just to do a little pop-up food stand in the city of Philadelphia. Now, if it's a permanent food truck, food stand, restaurant, completely separate set of things I would then have to apply for as well. Going with the 7 things here in Philadelphia, I could do 3 events per year. That would be it. Anything more than that, now I have to apply for more. And I can tell you for the food truck one, to do 3 events, it's like a 4-page application. To do more than 3 events, to be a permanent, that's an 18-page application. And that's not even guaranteeing that you'll get the license, or even once you do, that you'll even have a place that you're allowed to sell. Let's go to the next slide here. I did put a little piece of fry bread over here just because it looked good, to be honest with you. All right, so we have some breakdown of a couple of essential licenses and next steps. So some of these things we already kind of looked at in our last slide, but this gives a little bit more explanation to them. So for that L and I for any type of commercial activity, that's definitely required. If you don't have that in Philadelphia, they will 100% shut you down. I swear they do it on purpose, that your name's in the paper, somehow the reporters get your name, and you can have a great product. People hear that you were shut down for any reason, they're much less likely to buy your product. And from an American Indian standpoint of view, the last thing I want to see, whether it's my business or someone else's, is an American Indian owned business drugged through the mud, because that makes us all look bad. Which is really sad because it could be any other culture and it only applies to that particular restaurant owner or their chain of restaurants. If somebody hears something happened to the Olive Garden, they don't blame every Italian restaurant. If they hear it's American Indian food, they are going to think that's all of us, every single one of us, no matter who we are in that city, high end, low end, man, woman, whatever. They just think that that's us. It's already a thing that people tie us all into a small little box, that if you're Ojibwe or Pamunkey or Taino or whatever, that we're all the same, and which couldn't be further from the truth. But it carries over for our businesses as well. In Philadelphia, you do need a separate catering license. So for those that may not be familiar, preparing food at a commissary means you have a central location somewhere where you prepare all your food. A lot of times they do that for food trucks as well. Food truck culture is becoming like a major thing the last 20 years, where before you would see some food trucks. Now we have all these specialty food trucks that do certain types of food. I have seen some great American Indian ones. Sean Sherman started off with the food truck. I think it's called the Tatanka truck. He doesn't have it anymore. But that's how he started his business off. And you prepare your foods at a central location. That location has to be completely inspected and certified, or wherever you're selling your foods. If you can't prove that they were prepared there, you're done. And then beyond that, you need your food preparation and serving license. Um, so even if you're serving at nonprofits, and I see this particularly for Native American stuff, so it might be a nonprofit event and somebody's slinging some fry bread or some soup or some deer burgers, buffalo burgers, and they're like, oh, well, this is more like a fundraiser. We're not making a profit. You still need special licenses for that. And a lot of times that's not known to people. And the people that you may be working for, I don't think they're particularly going to lie to you. I think that they also just don't know it either. So, for instance, if here in Philadelphia, there's a great Native American nonprofit that I do partner with a lot called Native American House Alliance of Philadelphia. If they ask me to come down to their powwow and do a native food station, even if I'm just giving samples out for free, I can be fined pretty heavily for that if I do not have a serving license, even if I'm not selling it, and if it wasn't prepared at an actual inspected facility. I can claim all I want. Hey, I was just giving them out. If I have a table set up, they're 100% going to hand me anywhere from a $5,000 to $10,000 fine. And a lot of the, I don't know particularly what they're called. They're not the health department, but they work with the health department. If the people that go out and give those fines for that, I mean, it's really their job to be going to community festivals to see what's going on there. And as much as I might want to hate it, I mean, they are really doing a good thing. Um, for those of you that may do any food work, I'm sure you know that foodborne outbreaks can wreak havoc on an area very, very quickly. So as much as I might want to say like, hey man, like, why are you bothering us? We're just here doing a little cultural event. There's less than 2,000 people here. Very quickly, if things aren't the proper way, 2,000 plus people could get very, very sick and sometimes fatally sick as well. So as much as I want to hate on them, they are really doing a pretty good job. Um, Oh, this is a good one here that screws a lot of people up. Zoning approval and certificate of occupancy. Um, so where you're serving out of, if it's not zoned properly, that's a whole separate issue, but I want to focus on certificate of occupancy. So a lot of times places will approach me like, hey, Joe, can you do this event here? And it's this cultural museum downtown. They're doing a American Indian exhibit. Only 260 people can fit in the building on 3 different floors, and they want to have 1,000-person event. Um, that's a major thing. I mean, you have the fire department showing up, you have zoning officials showing up, you have L&I showing up, and everybody's handing you a fine. And unfortunately, if you're the food-based person putting this little tasting dinner on or whatever it happens to be, they're going to hand them to you. Even though you're standing there going, well, it's not my building. I didn't put this on. You're the one that's here feeding them. Now, in the end, you might be able to fight that in court, but I guarantee it's being handed to you that night. And again, special event permits, you can apply for them normally if you're doing under 3 or 4 events per year. So you can't say, hey, we're just doing this once per year for our local powwow. Technically, you should still have a particular license. Like I said, if you're doing more than 3 or 4, normally it's a much longer license because it's a permanent thing for the year. But even for them small little ones, and especially if you don't have a good relationship with the area you're in, you can get yourself into some pretty hot water very quickly. I'll move over to the next slide. Um, so kind of talked about what happens in the city of Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania. Um, so again, you have all this other stuff you have to apply for that the average person doesn't really think about these things. They just go, hey, this is a great opportunity. I really want to do this, whether it's for fun, whether it's because you want to do a business. whether you're flattered that you were asked or whether you're really into promoting your indigenous food culture and you really want to show the beauty of it, you say yes to things, and all of a sudden now you have this your state coming to you going, hey, by the way, you know, you didn't apply for this. Now the application, even if it goes through beautifully and goes through really quickly, that might be a $400 application. You only have to pay it once per year, but if you're only doing one job, that's $400 right out of that only job that you're going to do for the year. Uh, oh, got a question real quick. I see that, Brooke. Request for part two, New York edition. Honestly, since I don't live in New York, I'm not an expert, but what I can say is the easiest thing to do, no matter where you live, is actually go right to your township, your city, and just tell them what you want to do. A lot of times, even the restaurants and the facilities I've ran, it's almost like an old joke that the chef is supposed to hate the food inspector. I don't, and I always train my employees, don't hate them. Treat them as consultants that you don't have to pay. I mean, these people, it's literally their job to make sure that everything's right and to find what's wrong. So even the facilities that I know I've done the best I can and I run the best ship, I mean, their job is to find something wrong. One casino I opened up, the first one in Pennsylvania back in 2006, I had a food inspector literally stand in my kitchen. He came 2 days and couldn't find anything wrong. The third day, he stood in my kitchen in the corner for 8 hours until he finally found something wrong. And we didn't get fined. He wrote me a little F tag, they're called for it. Told me to shut that part of the kitchen down and to call him when the problem was fixed. It was literally his job. He had to find something wrong. So honestly, when they're coming into my facility, I always leave something very easy out that's not supposed to be there, like a drink cup that doesn't have a lid and a straw. Technically, that is against sanitation rules. I'll purposely put that there so they find it, so they have something to say to me, like, hey, chef, they're not supposed to do this. And I go, oh, man, I told them guys 1,000 times. I'm sorry. I'll get it taken care of. They found something. I create a good relationship with them. And then I ask them, hey, what can we be doing better? What are the next steps? Hey, listen, in about 6 months, I really want to do XYZ. Can you walk me through that? Can you tell me what I need to do? They're so happy that people aren't hating them just for doing their jobs. And they're a wealth of information that you can, like I said, just go right to them and say, hey, man, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you help me out? And I play that card a lot because, like I said, I'm bad with technology. I'll call them up and say, listen, I understand it's on your website. I get really confused. I'm not good with technology. I got so far into it, and then I was just confused by some of the wording. Can you walk me through this? They will always say yes. Even if they can't help you, they'll put you in touch with somebody that will be able to help you. Um, oh, this is a good one too. And again, I find this one for native issues. I've come up with this in a couple different ways. I'll give you a few little examples. So the Pennsylvania Food Manufacturer's License, if you make, process, or wholesale food products. So say you have a little indigenous juice bar where you have all your local berries, you forage yourself. That's awesome. That's great. When you're making fresh juices, they are only good for 24 hours. So there's a whole set of processes that have to happen. They have to be dated and time stamped and everything. If you're selling them after 24 hours, there's forgetting the name, but there's a process you have to go through to make sure they're still safe. If it's under 24 hours, you don't have to go through quite the whole thing. You also need a variance from the health board that they have to come in and inspect specifically for that. Say you're also a hunter or your tribe's connected with a lot of people that hunt and you're making beef jerky right there the traditional way, you're doing some pemmican or whatever your area calls it. Same thing, you are manufacturing this on site. It has to have a special variance from the state and from your municipality for you to be able to sell those things completely separate from everything else you're doing. You could have like a little breakfast cafe and you're doing great. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Everybody in my family hunts. My next door neighbor hunts. 27 guys from my tribe hunt. They're always saying they got all this food they don't know what to do with. I'm going to start making some beef jerky. It's a totally separate thing. Even though you're selling it out of the same place, you need to call them up, get them in there, have them inspect, and give you the variance for that food code. Um, do. Inspections. You know what? That's a good one. Um, Listen, you're going to be inspected. If you do any type of food thing, you're going to be inspected. Again, don't hate on those guys. My best advice is to actually call them and say, hey, we're due for an inspection. Can you guys come out Tuesday the 22nd? One, you already know they're going to be coming out on Tuesday the 22nd. So that would be advantageous to clean up all your little problems before they get there. And then when they get there, you're expecting them. There's no unforeseen things because, especially in the food world, there's a million unforeseen things. I was telling that to my students today. I was like, listen, you have to have a plan going into this, but I need you to have 4 backup plans that can happen on a split second because 90% of the time, your main plan, something's going to happen. It's really not going to work out the way you think it will for whatever reason, and the show must go on. Like you can't just stop and go, oh well, chef, it didn't work out. Uh, Part of their grade is what did they do to make it work out. Just like for those of you that have done food events, your client doesn't care that 4 of your people called out that day. Your client doesn't care that the guy that was supposed to bring your lobsters in got in a car accident or there's an accident and they're backed up. They were supposed to be there at 2 o'clock. They're not going to get there till 6 o'clock. Your client doesn't care. All they care about is that they hired you to do a job, whether it's an indigenous job, um, whether it's your tribal museum that's putting something on and they wanted you to do traditional food. Either way, they invited 500 people there, and whatever it is you're doing for them, they expect that to happen no matter what, and they don't really care. And insurance, again, that is so important. Insurance almost got me and my wife divorced one time. I was doing small jobs and I didn't have insurance, and she was absolutely right. She was like, God forbid if something happens, Joe. God forbid if something happens. Somebody gets sick or even says they were sick. Now we have to go to court. We have to fight them in court. That could be our house. Insurance is a must have. And again, with that too, call your insurance company up, tell them what you're doing and what is the proper level of insurance that you need. There's all types of insurance out there, and I'm definitely not an expert in them all. But I am an expert in calling the expert and saying like, hey, Bob, listen, this is what I'm going to do. What do I need to protect myself here? Sometimes it's as easy as, hey, listen, don't create a company, create an LLC. That takes the LLC can be sued. You yourself cannot be sued. Whole separate set of insurance as well. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. All right, this is a good one, especially when I see people starting out for the first time. They want to do these jobs and they don't realize how much go into it. And sometimes I don't know if it's worse that I see it with people that have no like cooking professional experience or people that have some and they want to go into a larger arena and they're unprepared for it. So I just have a little checklist over here. Um, these are just a few of the things that would pop through my head. Notice none of these have anything to do with food. It's not about anything that I'm going to cook. It's just, what do I need? Um, if you have a sit down dinner, people need plates, they need napkins, they need flatware, they need tables, they need chairs. If you're having coffee service, mean, cups, bowls, spoons, dishes, creamers, sugars, equal, half and half, sweet and low, Splenda, whatever the next sugar fad is. I know people are putting butter and cream of coconut in their coffee now. Trust and believe, you're going to be asked for those things. Do you have all these things? Do you have to go get these things? Do you have to buy these things? Do you have to rent them? Are you even responsible for these things? How are they going to get there? Uh, this right there is hours of work just by itself. Normally, what I tell people to do is to start small. Don't have your first job be a 2,000 person, 15 course tasting menu. Do somebody's kid's 10th birthday party, and slowly acquire these things. Kind of practice makes perfect type thing. Uh, do I think you need to start buying vases right away? No. If you're going to start doing wedding receptions, yeah. Um, Napkins, tablecloths, glassware, you do have to start gathering those. For those of you that are in the business, what are called tray jacks and trays, they're about $30 a pop. I know I used to started out doing small catering events. I had to buy 7 of those at $30 a pop. Uh, that was a lot of money. I used to budget about half of what I thought I was going to make profit from a job was just to slowly buy equipment that eventually I would get to the point where I wouldn't have to buy any more equipment. I would just have it. And with having it, where are you going to put it? Is it going to be in your house? Is it going to be piled up in your dining room? Are you going to have to buy a shed or rent a storage facility to keep all this stuff? And then you have to have it inventoried as well. All right, we're going to go to the next slide. So this is just a little continuation. And kind of like what I was just saying, like, hey, can you realistically store all this equipment? So say your tribe has a powwow every year and it's phenomenal. It's a great time and a huge amount of people come and you're like, I'm going to do a food stand. Okay, you're going to have all that stuff to use for one day throughout the year. What are you going to do with it for the rest of it? I know for most people, I don't have space in my house for all that. So I'm gonna have to go rent a storage facility. That storage facility is going to cost me $400 per month. So for the year, we're already up to it's $400 a month, $4,800 just to store this stuff. So if I didn't make more than $5,000, actually, that's not even including my food costs or me having to pay people. And if I have to pay to be able to even put up a stand, because let's be honest, most powwows are not going to tell you to put up a food stand. You're going to have to pay something. Um, but if I didn't make more than $5,000, I didn't even come close to covering my storage for all this equipment that I bought. And here's the other thing. If you don't store all this, are you going to rent this equipment? And if you do, renting is very expensive. A lot of times you can buy it for cheaper than you can actually rent it. But again, then you have to store the stuff. So if you do rent it, have you factored in those costs? Can you go and pick this stuff up yourself, or do you have to have it delivered to you? If you do have it delivered to you, is it being delivered to where you live, to where your storage facility is, where your business is? Are you having it delivered right to the grounds where the event is going to be on? That's going to cost you. And also now you have to get all this stuff back to the company that you rented it from. Are they going to come pick it up? If they are, I guarantee you that's going to be an additional cost. Um, then when this equipment gets there, if you're like me, I'm sorry, but I'm never going to truly believe that this stuff is cleaned and sanitized. Even if it came wrapped up in its original boxes, I don't know where this was manufactured. I don't know how far it's traveled. I don't know what dust is on it, what little creepy crawlies might have been crawling on it. I'm gonna hold on for 1 second. I think we're going to call for a student. Oh, maybe not. Um, I don't know what was on that equipment, so I'm definitely going to wash it before it gets used. And then does it need to be cleaned and sanitized before it's returned? Or is it okay to just give it back to them dirty and that's part of the cost? If it is, I guarantee it's going to cost you more to rent it that way if they're going to clean it up for you. And again, over here on the right, we still have a little bit more of just things that are everyday things like, hey, if you're going to hold this event, do you have this equipment? Most time it's much more than people think. Even the small little stuff like server aprons, server uniforms. I mean, you might not care too much if you're going to the powwow and the guy serving you is wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt. But if you're going to the museum and you paid $200 for a ticket for a sit-down dinner and somebody comes out with your food wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt, it could be the same person, you're going to feel some kind of way. Your business is going to be looked at in a certain light. No, you're going to want them to have a proper shirt, probably a black shirt, maybe an apron. Great way to promote your business because your apron says right up here on the chest the name of your business, so people are seeing that. Um, that's advertisement walking around the whole entire time. We're going to shoot over to the next slide real quick. And I put this in here because this is just where we all take a breath and look at food and go, ah, that's pretty. That's actually from a dinner I did for First Nations Development Institute about 2 years ago with two other wonderful Native chefs. There was a combination meal that we all put together for that meal. And that was the main course. It's also so I can take a sip of coffee real quick. All right, some additional items to think of. Again, we have a little catering supply checklist over here. Again, normally it's much more than the average person thinks are involved in things. But additional items over here, linens, tablecloths, napkins, these things cost a lot of money. They can also be a way for you to increase your profits. For an example, if I was doing a catering meal somewhere that was like a seated served meal and they wanted linen napkins for 200 people, I'm going to charge them an extra dollar for each linen napkin. In reality, I rented all 200 of them for $40. I made an additional $160, but I still had to go get those napkins. I had to pick them up, have them in my stock. Maybe they were certain color. Somebody had to fold them up. Afterwards, I had to collect them, put them in a trash bag. Maybe they were sitting in the back of my car for 2 or 3 days because the place where I had to rent them from was closed and my event was on a Friday. I had to wait till Monday. It's summertime, it's hot, and the car is probably not smelling too good now. So these are just, little things you have to think about. Tablescapes. I hate going to somebody's wedding and there's this giant centerpiece. I can't see the people in front of me. I'm trying to talk to them. But people want those things and they're looking at you to provide them. Again, they are a way that you can increase your business and make more profits, and it has nothing to do with your food. But they are extra things that you have to think about. You have to go get, you have to take care of, you have to build the relationship with your local florist, your glassmaker, whatever. Lighting, furniture. Furniture, again, is a great way to increase your profits if you can rent some nice white furniture or something that people go with their little girl's sweet 16 or something. Trucks is huge. How are you getting this stuff back and forth? I don't own 5 trucks. I figured out the easiest way for me, especially during the weekends, is to go to Home Depot and rent the cargo vans. Cost me about $25 a day plus gas and the extra $13 a day insurance because God forbid I'm doing an event on a Friday night and somebody comes out drunk and runs into the van. I don't want to be held responsible for that. If you're doing a powwow or something, do you have a generator or propane that you can run all your stuff off of? Hand washing stations, major thing. If you don't have a hand washing station and you did all that other stuff and got all your other licenses, if you don't have a place where you can wash your hands, they're going to shut you down. They're going to make you pack up, and then they're going to fine you. Over here, just as a little quick peek, when you plan out a business, this is what you need to really be looking for. 5 years from now, how is this going to make you a profit? Where are you going to start? Where are you going to go? I put the explanation of this word EBITDA um somewhere here. I forgot where I put it because I didn't know what it meant a couple years ago when I first saw it. You have to think of all these things. I highly suggest getting a tax professional to help you out. Go to your bank, tell them you're, even if you're not going to get a small business loan, tell them you are, and they'll walk you through the process of creating these things for yourself so you see where all your expenses are going to be. In reality, if you can't plan out who you're paying, this is December. If I don't know who I'm paying in May and how many hours I'm going to pay that person, I have unexplained expenses coming up that I have not planned for. Oh, here it goes. A bit of earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. I had to look that word up when I first saw it. I didn't know what it meant. If you don't have a handle on this part over here, your financial summary, no matter how good your food is, you're not going to make a profit. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, we all have ourselves or our kids to feed and bills to pay. Um, Unless it's something that I choose to do, I don't work for free. If I'm working, it's to put food on the table for my children. So I have to know that if I do this job, I'm going to get paid if it's a paid job. I have to know how much money I'm actually going to make. And down here, I want to draw one thing real quick. It's okay to say no. We don't have to jump for every single job someone says, hey, can you do this? Even if it's for the community you live, you can say no. So, as a real little scenario here, a local native or a local museum wants to promote you, the native chef, get your name out there. They want to help you, supposedly. All right, they're going to pay you $10,000 to do a little small 200-person museum dinner thing. Bonus, they're going to supply the alcohol. You don't even need to think about that. Sounds pretty good because guess what? The heater at your house just broke. That's going to be at least like 3 or 4 grand. If you can get your cousin's brother's sister-in-law's boyfriend to put it in for you, otherwise it's probably going to cost you more. Okay. But before you know it, now it's a 15-course tasting menu of regional indigenous foods. Now you have to ask yourself, do you even know how to do that? Again, there's some great native cooks out there, but there is a difference between a native cook and a native chef that can do those broader scale things and also take into people's food preferences. Who's gluten free? Who's lactose intolerant? Who's not eating soy products? But the museum says, hey, we contracted you. You have to take care of this. So now you're in reality making 23 different courses. Let's look at the price breakdown for that. All right, you don't have to buy the alcohol, but you have to hire the ramp certified bartenders. That's $750. It's on you to rent all the chairs, and they want them wrapped in linens. And the person from the museum thinks purple is a good indigenous color because somebody told them the tribe in that area has purple in their tribal flag. So now you have to rent the chairs, the linens, the sashes. That's $2,300. Now you're in an area where you have to hire unionized staff. They can only work for 5 hours at a time. So you need 15 of them to help set up and get everything ready. And they're going to be there for 4 hours. So for their last hour, they're just helping getting some of the hors d'oeuvres ready. Now you have to have a brand new crew of 15 more people come in for 5 hours to serve the actual meal and then help break down. That's over $5,000 right there. And you had to rent a truck and a couple pieces of equipment. That's $1,250 right there. And you know what? Now you had to buy them really nice looking square plates that are disposable, but they kind of look real. And the fake silverware that's really thick and they painted it silver. So it kind of looks real. That cost you $625. And oh, the food you cooked also cost you almost $2,000 just to buy it. You're at $11,425. We haven't even talked about staffing, insurance, or anything else. So you were getting paid 10,000. Right now, you already owe $1,425, and we didn't even talk about half the other things yet. Um, let's go to the next. All right, so you guys will actually be, shouldn't say you guys, you men and you women, or whatever other genders we have going on. I lose count sometimes. We'll be getting this emailed to you later. These are just some basic questions. These are not all questions. These are some basic questions that I thought about off the top of my head of, hey, if somebody asked me to do an event, before I realistically even think about the food, I have all these other questions that I have to have answered first. In reality, the food to me, it's what I love to do. It's the easiest part. I don't even have to think about that. That's the easy part. That's the fun part. First, and this just happened to me last night, a very old dear friend sent me a text. Hey, are you available to do this event for my family? Hey, when's the event? First and foremost. Hey, it's next Saturday. Nope, sorry. I can't do it. Are already booked. My daughter has a performance. She has my heart. No matter how much you're going to pay me, I can't do this. Next 2 or 3 pages, all pretty much the same. These go along with, again, generalized questions that I seriously think need to be answered before you even start thinking about cooking the very first thing. Oh, I clicked too quick. The very last one on the previous page said leftover food. Who handles leftover food? This is extremely, extremely important. Leftover food needs to go in the trash. 100%. If someone takes it home, you have to have in your contract with whoever you're doing this for that you are not to be held responsible. I can't tell you how many times this has happened to small people, to giant corporations over the years, and it continues to happen. I know when I serve you that food, it was kept impeccably sanitary and clean and good. Once it's out of my hands, I literally have no control over it whatsoever. I don't know what happened to it. I can't be held responsible. So if I let you take that food home and I don't have it in the contract that I'm not held responsible, God forbid anything that happens is on me. And I hate seeing food go to waste. There's only 2 places I know that'll let me drop off food without signing for it. One is one older folks' home and any police and fire station. So I guess that's technically 3. They don't ask questions. Anywhere else, even if I want to take it to a shelter, if I have to sign that I gave it to them, I won't do it. And it's just because I have to protect myself. I know when I gave it to them, even if I was still within the 4 hours of food safety, I don't know what they did with it. They could have left it on the counter for overnight and then tried to feed it to somebody. I don't want to be held responsible for that. Again, we have our continuation of just some very important questions. And don't forget this last one. Hey, listen, we're all people. I know people forget that cooks or people that work in hospitality, we're actually people. You got to give your people breaks and you have to give them meals. Okay. And if you're in an area where you're hiring union staff, best believe they're going to expect that. And that's in their contract. They get a meal and they get a break. And speaking of contracts, listen, no matter how much you want to do good work, if I have a conversation with somebody and I don't get a down payment, they're remembering a conversation I never had as far as I'm concerned. If it's not in the contract, I'm not doing the job. I don't know how many times I can tell you professionally and personally, I've been burnt. And it's just you need a contract to protect yourself. I've gotten to the point where I do a certain amount of pro bono work or a certain amount of discounted work, especially for Native communities. But once I hit that threshold, that's it for the year. Like I said, I still have to make an actual living for myself. And honestly, every time I kind of look at it, I'm trying to bend over backwards for people. Normally, they're the times that it's really not reciprocated. And I'm sorry to say, Your native community will sometimes do it to you faster than people that you don't know. Some people are going to prey on the fact that you want to do good work for your community and that you're trying to bend over backwards for them, and they're just going to ask for more and more and more. Um, you have to be able to draw the line and say, listen, this is what I'm willing to do, and this is what I'm not willing to do to protect yourself. I mean, because like I said, at the end of the day, you're working to put food on the table for your family in the way that makes sense. Like I still want to help native food culture. That's what I love to do. I got into this 13 years ago. I was a very successful professional chef, and I just went down this little rabbit hole of what are my own native foods. 13 years later, in my head, I'm still just the chef who's trying to figure things out. Somewhere along the way, I became the chef people started asking questions for. When I'm up in front of a big university giving a speech, I'm always like, I don't even know why you people are listening to me. I'm just a dude. Um, but it's still, when I go out to do these things, I'm thinking I want to help my community. I want to show people the beauty of native food culture and also the health aspects, not only for our own people, but for the whole world. But at the end of the day, I got to put dinner on the table for my family. If I can't do that doing this, I will sell pizza. Um, and just like our farmers that are out there, we need people like us to create a supply and demand situation. So they have a reason to grow these ancestral vegetables because that farmer at the end of the day, too, he has a family to feed. If he can't feed them by selling uncultivated ancient squash, he's going to sell soybeans because he's going to feed his kids. So we need to work together with them and take advantage of every opportunity that we have to do these wonderful things. I'm going to take a deep breath because I just talked a lot. So if there's any questions, um, I'd love to talk to you.
Joe, I want to add there is a response in here from Haley. She said, I had fun opportunity to prepare a meal for an event, but they would not pay for travel, gas, or an overnight stay 4 hours away. Due to the ingredients they wanted money. I would have been in the hole had to deny the opportunity.
So the question is, should you deny the opportunity? Is that what the question was?
I think it's more so a reflection. She had to deny an opportunity because they weren't able to pay more
Yes.
upfront for travel expenses.
Listen, 100%, it is okay to say no. No matter how much you want to do things, and I'll give you an example of my own personal life. The first time I ever got an opportunity was brought before me to do educational speaking in a large scale event. I was so excited that after years of people telling me I was crazy for researching native foods. I had chefs tell me that. I had other natives tell me that. I had my own family like, Joe, you're crazy. No one cares. I was so excited that people actually cared that I was like, oh my God, I'll do it for free. Thankfully, the woman that brought me the opportunity, she cursed me out like only a native woman could do. Um, she cursed me out so bad. And she was like, no, if they were hiring you to be a chef, they would pay for these things. If they were hiring an Italian, Korean, African chef to do specialty foods and come and talk to them, they would pay them for everything. You need to get treated the same exact way. People have been getting native knowledge free for way too long. That's part of the problem. And even now, thinking back to old black and white movies, somebody's little kid gets lost out in the woods. They can't find them. Oh, go to old Indian Ben, knock on his cabin door. He'll know how to find them. Somebody gets sick and they can't get them to the hospital and they don't know what to do. Oh, go out in the woods and go knock on that old Indian lady's door and she'll tell you how to, bring them health through herbs. Did they ever talk about paying these people? Why are they living out in the shack with no running water if they have all this traditional ecological knowledge that's so worthwhile to people? But they would have paid a team to go walking through the woods, but they're not going to pay old Ben. So I wound up charging for that and learning like, hey, no, you know what? Right off the bat, I know just off the top of my head, if I'd have done that event for free, that was a hotel stay, it's $300. That was a 6 hour car ride back and forth. That was tolls. That was me and my son eating. That was me buying all the ingredients for the event, buying little specialty things to serve the ingredients at the event. That event would have cost me almost $2,000 to do. Now, again, I was so excited I was about to do it for free. I learned my lesson pretty quickly that I'm allowed to say no. I'm allowed to ask for what I'm worth. As much as we all think we might be superstars, and listen, when it comes to certain things in the chef world, I'm a superstar. When there's other things in the chef world, I'm not that good at that. You might want to get somebody else. But even the things that I'm really, really good at, I'm not the only one. There's somebody closer that can probably do that, that might not have to travel for 4 or 5 hours to get there. And sometimes you have to ask yourself too, like, hey, listen, what is this worth? Is this worth my time? I'm taking vacation days from work to go drive out to this tribe to go do programming for them. I've already burned a vacation day or called out of work and lost $300 or $400 for calling out of work for that day. I need to be compensated. Unless that's one of those times that I say to myself, this is something that I'm going to do pro bono. I'm going to take it on the chin, and that's what I'm going to do. Or I say, I'm going to do this at a discounted rate. And then I make that choice. Anything else, like, hey, listen, this is my hourly rate. This is my fee. Maybe we can talk about it and work something out, but I do need to get paid. It needs to be in the contract. I need to know when I'm going to get paid. For those of you that actually do start doing contract work, especially for schools, please keep in mind it may take weeks, if not months, to get paid. And can you realistically put that out? For Native American Heritage Month, I'm blessed to have been so busy as I was. I was very tired that month, but I did a lot of university speaking on and off of flights. I never, ever in my life thought that I would be doing this type of work. Again, sometimes I'm just like, I'm a dude that just does food. I don't even know why you're talking to me. But I'm blessed in that way. I made a good amount of money for that month, although I think I only slept for 3 days, but I will not see any of that money probably for another 2 months. So if you're putting that out, you're paying for hotels, flights, food, renting equipment, paying staff. Just keep in mind, if you're doing, they might be doing that great event, whether they're paying you $2,000, $20,000. If you did that event in November, you may be paid in June. So can you realistically have the capacity to do these events knowing you're not going to get paid? And some events, please keep in mind, you will never get paid. It might be you going to court or saying it's not really worth it for that $500 for that museum luncheon or something for me to go to court. I'll just never work with them again. But please take advantage of every opportunity that you realistically think that you can do and start small. One of the final things I'll say about some of this before we go into the next question, if you have time, work for somebody else. Okay. Even if you're dreaming of, I want to go do this, I'm a great cook, get that part-time job, preferably doing the same thing that you want to do. It's zero risk and it's all the reward. You're getting the experience off of somebody else's dime to learn how to do the business that you want to do. Even if you're there washing dishes, look around and see what they're doing. Ask questions, make friends. It's always good to have friends. On your way home, grab yourself one of my little 59-cent marble composition books and write everything down. Yo, this is what that dude Tony did with the squash. I don't really understand what he was doing, but I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna go to work next week. I'm gonna ask him. And then start to figure things out for yourself. That way you're not putting yourself out there and going, I'm going to do this and having such a horrible experience that you're like, I never want to do this again. Like I'm burnt out and I'm scared and I lost money. Let somebody else pay you to learn. And luckily it's 2025. When I first got into this 13 years ago, there was no Native American cookbook out there to go look at. Now we have like 15 of them and it's growing every day. For my first 5 years of doing this, I thought I was the only Native chef in the world. I had never met another Native chef or that even asked any of these questions whatsoever. Now I see there's this giant community that's getting bigger and bigger. I think we're at time now. Please send any questions you have. I will definitely try to get back with you. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for sharing your insight and expertise today and your passion for food and culinary. Um, Thank you again for everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll be sending along a list of questions, the recorded webinar from today in an email. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank
Bye.
you, Joe.